The Wedding Crashers of Willow Creek. It was a crisp Saturday morning in Willow Creek, Montana, when I stepped onto my porch, coffee mug steaming in the cool air. At 52, I'd grown used to the quiet rhythm of my 40-acre ranch cows lowing, the rustle of grass, the occasional hawk circling overhead. My 3 bulls, Brutus, Jasper, and Old Duke, were usually the loudest things around, snorting and stomping in their pasture. But that morning, at 7 a.m., the air carried a different sound, the delicate pluck of a harp, of all things, followed by a woman's voice barking, "Where are the hay bales with the silver ribbons?" I froze, squinting across my field. There, in the middle of my private pasture, stood a white gazebo, gleaming like it had been airlifted from a bridal magazine. Rows of chairs lined the grass, a catering van idled near my irrigation ditch, and a woman in a silk robe, hair and curlers, barefoot, directed a swarm of vendors like she was conducting a symphony. A flower girl waved at me, as if I were some nosy neighbor crashing her party. I hadn't even laced up my boots yet. This wasn't a dream. It was a full-blown wedding setup, unfolding on my land without a whisper of permission. Stunned, I trudged forward, trying to make sense of how someone had turned my pasture into a venue overnight. The woman, whom I'd later learn was Linda, spotted me and wrinkled her nose. "Oh, good. You're here," she said, like I was her hired help. "Can you move that ugly tractor? It's ruining the pastoral charm." I blinked, speechless, as she spun away to critique a stack of napkins. I followed a tangle of extension cords to a generator humming by my barn. Linda's cousin, Mitch, the self-proclaimed DJ, was unloading speakers. "Who gave you permission?" I asked. He scratched his neck. "Linda said it's public land. She cleared it with the HOA." I set him straight. This was my private property, not a community park. He shrugged. "Well, Linda said she talked to someone. It's all good." Fuming, I marched back to Linda, who was now arguing with a florist over the shade of peonies. "This is my land," I said, voice steady but firm. "You're trespassing. Take it down." She laughed a sharp, entitled scoff. "Don't be dramatic. It's one afternoon. The field's just sitting here, and the guests are already flying in. You'll thank me when you see how beautiful it is." She pointed to a sign at the property line. "Welcome to Serenity Meadows, a Linda event." It was forward, adorned with wedding rings. This wasn't just a wedding, it was a branding scheme, and my pasture was her stage. I snapped photos of every detail: the gazebo, the cables, the sign, and told her I was calling the sheriff. "Go ahead," she sneered, claiming she had a permit. "You'll be embarrassed when the truth comes out." The sheriff arrived 20 minutes later. I stood by the gazebo, deed in hand. Linda greeted the deputies with crocodile tears, claiming she'd been misled by a shady coordinator. She produced a crumpled permit with my name misspelled and a signature that looked like a toddler's doodle. The deputy wasn't fooled. "Ma'am, this isn't even close to legal," he said. "Wrong address, no county C." Linda begged for a few hours, citing her expenses. I gave her 24 hours to clear out, thinking I was being generous. Her smug smile as the deputies left told me she thought she'd won. That evening, I walked my fence line, watching the sun set over hay bales now draped in white ribbons. Brutus, Jasper, and Old Duke were pinned in the back lot, pacing and huffing, clearly annoyed. I scratched Brutus's ears and muttered, "Your time's coming, big guy." Linda wasn't packing up. She was scaling up. A vendor rolled in with champagne crates for a pre-wedding brunch. She'd twisted my Mercy into a green light to run her wedding, daring me to stop her in front of 200 guests. The next morning, I woke to lavender incense and a flute playing something sappy. Linda had doubled down, hosting a yoga session on my grass, complete with a new sign, "Serenity Meadows Events, where love meets the land." A photographer snapped glamour shots as Linda led affirmations about manifesting joy. I found brochures in my mailbox featuring my bulls as friendly mascots. She turned my livelihood into her backdrop. I called my friend Tom, a lawyer with a knack for cutting through nonsense. He reviewed Linda's fake permit and laughed. "This is a Word doc signed with a crayon." He advised documenting everything: every car, every guest, every ad. "And keep those bulls ready," he added with a grin. I spent the day recording with a GoPro, noting the generator, the porta potties, and the fairy lights stapled into my elm tree. The disrespect was staggering. The wedding day arrived under a perfect blue sky. Tents dotted my barn, garlands hung on fence posts, and chairs led to the gazebo like a royal aisle. Linda rode in on a horse-drawn carriage, her dress sparkling, bridesmaids clutching mason jar bouquets. Guests stabbed their eyes, oblivious to the trespass. I didn't call lawyers or cops. I had a better plan. I'd fed the bulls early, and they were restless, irritated by the noise and scents invading their turf. I walked to their pen, loosened the gate hinges, and stepped back. I didn't prod or push, just gave them the option. Jasper moved first, trotting out curiously. Brutus followed, his heavy steps shaking the ground. Old Duke, the grumpiest, sauntered out last, eyes sharp. At first, nothing happened. Then Jasper bumped a chair, toppling it with a clatter. A guest screamed. Brutus snorted and headed for the flower arch. Chaos erupted. A bridesmaid ran, a groomsman fell, and Linda shrieked, "This is not happening," as she backed into the gazebo. The bulls didn't charge, they reclaimed. Jasper chased a kid briefly before eyeing the cake table. Old Duke dragged a satin runner like a prize. The carriage horse panicked, snapping its reins and toppling a porta-potty in a blue spray. Linda, soaked in mud after slipping in a puddle, tried to grab Old Duke's halter. He spun, flinging mud onto her dress. Her veil flew off, trampled. Guests filmed it all, and by evening, clips of Linda yelling, "Stop the cows, this is my day," went viral. The bulls were herded back, leaving broken chairs, crushed petals, and a wrecked gazebo. Linda fled, her gown and dignity in tatters. The fallout was swift. Videos hit millions of views, with comments like, "Bulls, 1, Linda, 0. Local news replayed her meltdown, one anchor choking back laughter. I thought Linda might slink away, but she came back with a lawyer and a camera crew, suing for endangerment and emotional sabotage. Her lawsuit was a Jokami name misspelled, claims of a rogue cattle invasion. Tom dismissed it as a wedding dispute template. "She's not after money," he warned. "She wants to be the victim." Linda posted a tearful video, claiming I'd lured her onto neglected land and trained my bulls to attack. Half the internet roasted her, the other half bought her sob story. But her local support crumbled. Vendors exposed her bounce checks and threats. The HOA banned her from events after an emergency meeting, and their president, her cousin Greg, resigned, tired of her drama. I filed a counterclaim for damages: the ruts, broken fences, scorched grass. With my evidence, videos, deeds, Linda's threatening email, the court ruled in my favor. She was ordered to pay up and retract her lies. She didn't retract, but I got justice. Linda's final stunt was a reality show pitch, Reclaim Your Day, reenacting her trauma with rented actors. When she tried filming on my land again, I caught her. Her crew packed up fast when I mentioned judges. Her house went up for sale, and she vanished, leaving an empty street and a lighter neighborhood. The pasture healed, grass regrew, fences were fixed. The bulls became local legends, their faces on t-shirts reading "Moving On." I started Bulls and Vows, a legal wedding business. Couples loved the rustic charm, respecting the land and joking about Old Duke crashing their vows. The first event was simple, heartfelt, and real. A scrap of Linda's dress, caught on my gate, became a marker where nonsense ended and my story began. This wasn't about revenge. It was about respect for land, boundaries, and 3 bulls who reminded a trespasser who owned Willow Creek. What do you think? Was I right to let the bulls loose? Or should I have stuck to lawyers? How would you handle someone like Linda? Share your thoughts below, especially on navigating injustice or standing up to bullies. Your perspective matters. Let's hear it.